Hello, this is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and today we'll be reviewing the Jocote Natural Processed Costa Rica from JBC Coffee. And there's the bag right there. And JBC, Johnson Brothers Company, based out of Madison, Wisconsin. This is their first time being featured on this channel, and they were a suggestion to us by Jack Spratt. So shout outs to and thank you to Jack for the suggestion. For anybody that might not know, we mentioned in our Madcap video, we almost never wear the coffee roaster shirt of the coffee roaster we're reviewing. This is the second exception we're ever making, as this right here is a JBC shirt. This is the first ever coffee roaster shirt we owned, and it was given to us by our very good friend and first ever coffee protege, Brian, whose favorite coffee company is JBC. So massive shout outs to Brian, as he's a very good friend, somebody we still discuss coffee with very regularly. He suggested this coffee specifically, and throughout the years, way back in the day, he used to order so many coffees from JBC, and he would give us sample upon sample of coffees from them. Most notably, most specifically, a lot of Sumatran coffees. So we mentioned in other videos that we've tried so many Sumatran coffees, and we can thank Brian for that experience, as well as a fair bit of experience with JBC themselves. This right here is day 19 of this coffee. And we don't have a great recipe for this. We liked it best through the automatic coffee maker. Usually that's not the most positive sign for a coffee, but we'll elaborate on that in a little bit. This we will call it's really pushing the development. We're gonna call it closer to a medium, so we're actually just gonna call it a shade under a medium American for the roast profile. And let's start discussing the coffee itself now. Day 6, which was our very first impression, and it wasn't the most positive first impression, as it was a very boozy berry sort of coffee. And we've mentioned this ever since the first time we tried this, a little over maybe about a year ago now, when we tried Onyx's, they had a natural process Las Lajas. That was the beginning of this kind of boozy berry craze where the coffee can be very chocolatey, very red berry forward, and very like wine-like. And that was kind of the case with this coffee early on, and that's become pretty off-putting with a lot of these coffees. So it wasn't the best first impression. There was quite a bit in this cup of coffee though. Strong florals, a little bit of citrus, but very much dominated by that red berry. There was quite a bit of depth in this coffee as it had cooled down. So we're like, okay, maybe this will die down. Maybe there is quite a bit of potential. Day 8, up to the temperature, and the coffee was not quite as good. Really strong floral acidity and some heavy berries. And we knew we were going to need to adjust. There's going to be a lot of work that needed to be done with this video. And first thing we did was we put it through the automatic coffee maker, and we were kind of noticing some huge improvements immediately after we did that, as the boozy berry component had died down ever so slightly, and we were getting this sweet pastry component. And we mentioned this in the cheese and crackers video, that this has also become a little bit of a common theme, is these pastry tasting components that are very sweet. That was the case with this, and I think they have listed as the flavor notes strawberry Pop-Tart as one of them, and that's why we can definitely understand the sweet pastry definitely could be reminiscent of a strawberry Pop-Tart. And then again to the automatic coffee maker, and it was really cutting down on this overbearing boozy berry components to it. Much more enjoyable, could pull out a lot more flavors a lot more easily. And the best way we could kind of describe this coffee by day 12 at this point was maybe a somewhat higher end strawberry Pop-Tart, but specifically like a rhubarb strawberry Pop-Tart, because that had a very notable floral component in this. Had the pastry, had the berry, and had the florals, very notable flavors in this cup of coffee. With that being said, you can definitely tell that this is a little bit more developed, so this is all encompassed in what was a more slight bit of a roasty profile than we're used to. And that was pretty much the experience with day 14, as we were enjoying this coffee a lot more at this point than our first couple experiences through the Chemex. This right here is brewed through the Chemex just because we didn't have enough coffee to do another pot of the automatic coffee maker. And yeah, it's kind of reminding us it's got that boozy berry component, but really running it through the automatic coffee maker significantly improved this coffee. Maybe the V60 and probably an AeroPress would have done really well with this coffee. All right, let's go ahead and put up the tasting wheel so you can see what we're getting. In this tasting wheel, take it with a huge grain of salt, as this is made in accordance with the Chemex as opposed to the automatic coffee maker. So as you can see, floral's really high, but I think for the most part, a lot of these are still going to be pretty similar. Floral's really high, berry fruit really high, smokiness really high, body really high, and the finish really high. This is a very lasting cup of coffee. We mentioned is that those florals are very strong in this cup of coffee. The berries are also very strong. Chocolate can be kind of high. We have that kind of high, but that does go along with this kind of more developed profile. Bitterness at level 3, yeah, this is a little bit of a bitter cup of coffee. You can see there's so many parts in this flavor wheel, like there are so many higher numbers than usual when it comes to this flavor wheel that we're posting right here. But yeah, for the most part, the things you need to get out of it is it's a pretty heavy-bodied cup of coffee that tastes like a more developed cup. Very notable strawberry rhubarb Pop-Tart, that is what you're tasting from it. Well, strawberry rhubarb pastry, and we'll just call it the Pop-Tart because that just seems to work really well for this. All right, so our overall thoughts and impressions of this coffee. Truth be told, we were very much not looking forward to discussing this after the first couple of days, as we knew that it was going to be tough discussing another boozy berry. However, after we kind of were able to work through this coffee, it is nice for what it is. And I can say that with no hesitation, as once we ran it through the automatic coffee maker and we were able to accept that this is going to be a slightly more developed cup of coffee, we could very much enjoy it for what it was. These flavors are very pronounced. They're very good. I think this cup of coffee is honestly very well done. If you're going into it knowing that this is going to be slightly more developed than you're used to, unless you're somebody that does like the slightly more developed cups of coffee, then I think you'll actually be surprised at the great flavors that come from this cup of coffee. So that's a massive shout out and credit to JBC for what they were able to do with this coffee. Even if I can safely say this was not necessarily my taste, I do like stuff on the lighter side, and I feel like a lot of people that watch my videos do, but even then, still enjoyable, honestly. Type of person I would suggest this coffee to is anybody that does skew a little bit more towards the middle ground, anybody that does like their, automatic coffee maker brew methods, even the AeroPress brew methods. I think that this was a very poor one for the Chemex, and going back, I would have never run this through the Chemex at any point. That was just my personal preference. I feel like it brings out all the bad components to this cup of coffee, when this cup of coffee can be something pretty nice and maybe a little bit more developed, but still enjoyable for that developed profile. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that though. If you've by chance tried this El Jocote, I would love to know your thoughts and impressions of it as well, or anything from JBC, as given surprising, this is the first time I've ever discussed JBC on this channel. If you're enjoying the content, give this video a like, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. This right here has been a review of the El Jocote Natural Processed Costa Rica from JBC Coffee. Thank you for watching.